Hi, welcome to an episode of Utah Crossbow Hunter. Where today we're going to answer another question I found on Crossbow forums across the ones that I use um, and look at and review. But before we get into that, remember, hit that subscribe button down below, ring that bell, share this video with your family, friends, your worst enemy, and leave me a comment down below. And you might hear some background noise, which you probably will. That's my kids as they're playing their games of Roblox or whatever they call it. All right, so the question is for today is, why do crossbow strings break? That is a very good question, and they do break. There's no if, rhymes, or buts about it, but they do break. So I came across this one on the Center Point Archery fans about this crossbow and the string that broke on here. There's a few comments. I'm not going to read the comments or anything like that, because we'll figure it out for ourselves. Because there's multiple reasons. So let's figure that out right now. Okay, so I've got my notes over here on my other screen over here. So you see me looking over here and reading off them. That's what I'm doing, so we get the correct information out. Crossbow strings can break for different reasons. There's multiple reasons out there. But it's becoming very popular for archery hunters. When I say archery hunters, I'm talking about anybody that's in archery, anybody that's in rifle shooting, or shooting, period. They want crossbows because they're becoming legal in a lot of different places throughout the United States to shoot. Whether it be in archery season or any weapon season, they're becoming very popular. And people love them because they shoot accurately, especially, at close ranges like we should be shooting crossbows. And it doesn't take a lot of experience to use crossbows. But before you head out and start doing it, you need to read and understand how the crossbow works, okay? Which can lead to the issues that we're talking about today, broken strings, okay? So, and here's some things. It could be because of the age of the crossbow strings. We got to think about it this way. When a crossbow is made and sent out to the customer, it's going to make stop here, stop there. Who knows how long that crossbow has been sitting, okay? So usually they're not sitting that long. They get out pretty quick most of the time. But so you need to take that into consideration with your strings. Now we're going to look at some ways to help with that here as we go along. The bolt or arrow, there should be arrow. Why I put bolt in there, I don't know, but I'm kind of dingy at times. But it may not be seated tightly against your string. You need to make sure that knock is seated right there against that string. Okay, making a good contact with that string. Because if it's off just a little bit, the string. By the time the string gets up there and pushes that arrow, your string breaks. Okay, because it make you consider yourself a dry fire. It could happen. It happens. The string may not have been maintained correctly. There's a big one right there. May not have been maintained correctly. So what do I mean by that? Lubing it, putting lube on the rail, lube on the wax on the strings. Okay, because you need to, depending on, a lot of times it depends on where you at. If your string say you're high. I'm going to just use this as an example. Because every string, every crossbow is going to be differently. You live in a high humidity area. You may want to, actually, let me change it, a dry area. That'd be better. You want to keep those strings waxed. You want to feel them. You want to make sure they're really, the wax is in there really, really good. So you got to really rotate that wax into those strings, okay? Into the strings, not into the, oh gosh, that just drew a mind blank. But you get my point. Your strings, make sure your strings are waxed, you know, and they always feel waxed. Once they start feeling dry, wax them up, okay? They could break from a broken knock or a broken arrow that you didn't know about. So always check your knocks, always check your arrows. You can't stress that enough. You got to check those. Another cause is the improper discharge of the crossbow. Okay? The improper discharge, I'm talking about a dry fire. Have I dry fired mine? Yeah. If you watch my video, you see that I've done it on video, that I've dry fired my crossbows. And once I get done shooting my video, the first thing I do is I come in and I check everything. Okay, make sure everything is good. The nice thing about the Wicked Ridge NXT 400 that I have is that if I dry fire it, it stops immediately. Okay, well, there's no arrow in there, which does fantastic. I love it when it does that. So improper discharge. It's important to understand your crossbow. Learn how to take care of your crossbow so it lasts longer. Let me go back to my notes here. Yeah, okay. So, gotta keep on my notes or I'm going to screw this up. So, always, again, it's important to read your owner's manual. Go on YouTube and do all the research you can on your crossbow. There's going to be a lot of different things out there on that. So I'm probably getting drowned out by my kids that are playing over here, but I do apologize for that, but that's okay. Okay, here's some reasons why strings could break. Okay, so I'm going to read my notes over here. There are different reasons why crossbow strings can break. It's important to understand your crossbow and the different parts works. Okay, parts. There's the key word right there. And it's proper maintenance. Okay, so you don't get caught by surprise. Proper maintenance on is one of the most important things you can do, and that is by always checking your crossbow, making sure the nuts and bolts and everything are tight. When you put that, and with that said, with the maintenance, is make sure your strings are waxed. Okay. Hey, pardon me. Shh. Okay. Yeah. Making live videos with 3 kids at home under 7, yeah, that could be a little bit of a challenge at times. Okay, and first thing you know is the age of your crossbow. Okay, also know, let's see, it's important, you need to know when to replace your strings. Okay, and we'll talk a little more about that in just a moment, because they do wear out. And again, other reasons they break is to do with, improper loading of your arrows, dry firing, incorrect knocks could be even cause of the problem. So you need to take care. Hey. Yeah, they get excited when they play their Roblox. Okay. How often do you need to replace your strings? That's another good question. Generally speaking, probably every 2 years, if you take care of them properly. When I say take care of them, make sure they're waxed and all that kind of good stuff. Because people think you don't use your crossbow, your strings will last longer. That's not the case. Okay, It depends on how you got it stored, your ambient temperatures and all that kind of stuff has a lot to do with it too. 'Cause even when you're not using it, there's still some tension on those strings. Okay, believe it or not, there still is. Some people may change their strings more frequently. That's fine. That's up to you. Okay, but that's why you take off your old strings, you put new strings on, keep those old strings in case you need them. Always keep that in mind. Considering how you're going to use your crossbow. If you can do a frequent target shooting like I do, you'll need to change them more. Mine's almost ready for a new string. Let's see. Okay, so remember, just maintain it by waxing it and all that kind of stuff. All right, let's moving on here. Okay, how do you know when the strings are worn out? Okay. If you keep them waxed, you're probably going to be okay for a little bit, but you should assess how much wear they've experienced. The string should always feel a little waxy. If they start getting dry or frizzy, make sure you wax them, or maybe time to replace them. So start seeing the fraying and stuff on your strings. When it comes to friction over time, wear out your strings. So anytime you start seeing frizziness or they start feeling really, really dry, it's time to replace them. If you start seeing broken strands, time to replace them. Hey, I'm really sorry about this, guys. Shh. They get excited, let me tell you. So with that, okay. Let's see here. Moving on. Okay. Strings can break from improper use. Okay. When we talk about improper use, most of it's going to be accidental, but it's important to know how your crossbow works, the proper nocks that you have, your arrows, the weights of your arrows. Because here's another thing too, when we talk about strings, the heavier the arrow, okay, the heavier the arrow, the quieter your bow is going to be, and the strings are going to last longer. Okay, so if you want to use a light arrow all the time, you're going to be using more strings. You're going to be pushing your strings more. You have a good chance of breaking your limbs. Okay, so dry firing can cause problems. Okay, so let's see. Do I have everything there? Because remember, your nocks or arrows can always suffer damage too. So you always want to check. Always check your bolts, your arrows for cracks. The thing I use is I always do a spinner check on my arrows. I always check my nocks. I check my tips, because the tips is where a lot of times you're going to find fractures. So always checking those. Basically, it's know your arrows too with that. Okay. And see how to care for your strings. Okay, so there's a few things you can do. Shoot the proper bolt or arrow out of your strings. Like I said, lighter arrows can cause also string breakage and limb breakage. So a medium to heavier arrow, I would highly recommend. Very highly. Okay. Checking your nocks, making sure your nocks are in good shape. Because sometimes when you're shooting, you may hit your arrow. Some people like to shoot in the groups. That's fine. I don't care. But when you shoot in the groups, You need to make sure you check your arrows each and every time for cracks, for knock breakage. Okay, because if you got anything like that, don't use them, because it's going to damage your string. It's going to damage your bow. Okay, keep them waxed, because I wax mine probably once a month, whether it needs it or not. I wax them. Okay, but even after time, and I shoot a lot, and you'll see if you go back and look at any of my videos, I shoot a lot. So I've had my crossbow probably longer than almost a year, I think. I'm not positive. I've shot, I'm gonna say over 2,000 shots out of my crossbow. Okay, so a lot. So I have to consistently check my strings, check my arrows, check my nocks, check my nuts and bolts and everything, make sure they're good. Check my timing. Always checking my timing. So there's multiple things that I check, and I keep it on a crossbow maintenance regime, I guess, as you could call it. So again, this is on why do crossbow strings break. I hope you guys got something out of it. Please leave me a comment in the comments below, or if you know some more tricks to the trade to keeping your strings good. But the bottom line is, make sure everything is in good working order all the time. Okay? Just because just face it, you're spending a lot of money on crossbows, on your crossbow, on your arrows. You're spending a lot of money. You're spending a lot of money on your broadheads, on your nocks, your lighted nocks. You're spending a lot of money. So when you buy a $400 crossbow, you're looking at probably spending close to $1,000, roughly. Okay. When I say that, scopes, arrows, broadheads, time and energy in going over and practicing with your crossbow. Because I can't stress practice enough. Okay, you always need to practice. So again, I hope you guys got something out of this. I do apologize for the kitties being a little loud today. I don't know why they're loud today, but they are, and I do apologize for that. So with that said, remember, get out there and hunt. Take care of your family. Family first. And always remember, these episodes are dedicated to my son. And thank you for watching. See you next time on YouTube, Crossbow Hunter.